Good morning, and welcome to the virtual worship service of the Unitarian Universalist Meeting House of Provincetown, where we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and where we support each other on our spiritual search for truth and meaning. My name is Reverend Kate Wilkinson, and I am filming this morning service in my home with a little bit of help from my colleagues and members of the meeting house in their homes. I hope that you are cozy and warm in your house too. One of the blessings of the pandemic is that we are able to attend worship with a hot cup of tea in our hand and a blanket wrapped around our shoulders. We also do some things to make our space feel special. We light a candle as we gather together in worship. We're going to talk a little bit today about how that helps to create a special space. But for now, I invite you to light a candle wherever you are. And in that way, we can feel together, even as we are apart.
Out of the darkness, light. Out of the light, warmth. Out of the warmth, joy. Out of the joy, togetherness. May this flame hold us for the time that we are here with one another.
Let us repeat together our covenant. Love is the spirit of this meeting house. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Mending. How shall we mend you, sweet soul? What shall we use? And how is it in the first place you've come to be torn? Come sit. Come tell me. We will find a way to mend you. I would offer you so much, sweet soul. This banana, sliced in rounds of palest yellow atop hot cereal, or these raisins scattered through it, if you'd rather. Would offer cellos in the background, singing melodies Vivaldi heard and wrote for us to keep. Would hold out to you everything colored blue or lavender or light green. All of this I would offer you, sweet soul. All of it, or any piece of it, might mend you. I would offer you, sweet soul, this chair by the window, this sunlight on the floor, and the cat asleep in it. I would offer you my silence, my presence, all this love I have, and my sorrow you've become torn. How shall we mend you, sweet soul? With these, I think, gently we can begin. We will mend you with a rocking chair, some raisins, a cat, a field of lavender beginning now to bloom. We will mend you with songs remembered entirely the first time ever they were heard. We will mend you with pieces of your own sweet self, sweet soul, with what you've taught from the very beginning.
Dark of winter, soft and still, your quiet calm surrounds me. Let my thoughts go where they will, ease my mind profoundly, and then my soul will sing a song, a blessed song of love eternal. Gentle darkness, soft and still, bring your quiet to me. Darkness, soothe my weary eyes, that I may see more clearly. When my heart with sorrow cries, comfort and caress me, and then my soul may hear a voice, a still small voice of love eternal. Darkness,
I'll see you in a little bit. I'm just going to the neighbors. Oh, it's dark. Neighbors, the night the lights went out. She took a small canvas bag from the cupboard under the sink, filled it with an assortment of nightlights, vanilla, blueberry, winter spice, added a couple of dumpy glass holders, a box of matches, a bar of chocolate. The house on the corner was in darkness. The knock on the door answered with a tentative, "Who's there?" Years later, they laughed about the tea, the water boiled in a pan on the gas ring, the shortbread eaten straight from a tin, intended as a Christmas gift, the chocolate eaten square by square, the shimmering candle flames shining light into the darkest corners.
I remember my first winter in Copenhagen, Tanya Landon writes. We'd arrived in late August and had the perfect Scandinavian fall. Walks in the woods, enjoying the city, playing on the beach. And then the oddest thing started to happen around mid-November. And it seemed so sudden, the daytime just disappeared. The school bus came in the dark, and after school the kids played in the dark. My husband would leave for work in the dark and come home in the dark. People in his office were using special desk lamps that simulate the sunlight, and a few people had to take sick leave due to seasonal affect disorder, conveniently referred to as SAD. But who could blame them? Sunset was at 3:30 p.m. and it didn't rise again until 8:30 a.m. It made me wonder, how is it that a country with so little sunlight for months of the year is consistently rated as one of the happiest countries in the world? What was their secret? It was my neighbor who first told me about Hygge, she says. She actually pulled me into her house, the coziest, clutter-free place I'd ever seen. Her kids were clearly grown and out of the house. There were lit candles everywhere. The fireplace was roaring and a tea kettle was whistling on the stove. Right then and there, she gave me her own version of Hygge for dummies. Hygge is a Danish word that doesn't really have a direct translation in English. I think maybe our closest word would be something like cozy, but Hygge also connotes contentment, comfort, and connection, simplicity and warmth, belonging. It's a sort of quality of presence. The most Hygge space that I can think of is the Winter Lodge in the back of the Canteen restaurant in Provincetown, diagonally across from the meeting house. The Canteen is always a well-decorated space at any time of the year, but at Christmas time, they transform their back room into a cozy getaway that fills you with warmth and joy and holiday spirit. To gather there with friends on a cold winter night is like stepping into a cocoon of connection. It is definitely Hygge. I talked with the owners, Rob and Loic, this week, and they told me that my having experienced the space as Hygge was no coincidence. They have been heavily influenced by their trips to Denmark and have wanted to share that sense of Hygge with their customers. During the non-pandemic years, you can head to the Canteen's Winter Lodge and their outdoor Christmas market to experience coziness and connection even in the dark and cold of a New England winter. So maybe you're starting to get the sense of what Hygge means. We've been trying to create it in this service. Even if this is the first time that you are hearing the word, you have all experienced it. In the book of Hygge, Louisa Thompson Britz explains it this way. We all hygger, gathered around a table for a shared meal or beside a fire on a dark night. When we sit in the corner of our local cafe or wrap ourselves in a blanket at the end of the day on a beach, lying like spoons, baking in a warm kitchen, bathing by candlelight, being alone in bed with a hot water bottle and a good book. Hygge can be experienced alone or in a small group of friends. If it is a shared experience, it is one in which each person feels at home in the circle of warmth created. No one is clamoring for attention. Each person is sharing equally, secure in the feeling that each person is important to the moment. We try to create that feeling too. The conversation is not a debate, and no one needs to prove how smart they are. They just need to be present to the moment and to each other. Hygge draws meaning from the fabric of ordinary living, Louisa says. It's a way of acknowledging the sacred in the secular, of giving something ordinary a special context, spirit, and warmth, and taking time to make it extraordinary. This is a little bit how I feel when I light a candle for worship in my home on Sundays. But I also feel it whenever I light a candle, whether it's for worship or just for dinner, or just to see the glow of a candle in my living room. The Danish have another expression called leven lys, which translates to living light. It describes the dancing of a flame, the comfort of something warm and alive. It's one way to invite Hygge into your space. An essential ingredient to Hygge, Louisa says, is the boundary that marks a place or delineates a moment. A fence, a circle of cushions, or a stolen half hour. The boundary can be setting aside an hour to visit a friend, pulling chairs into a circle around a campfire, or closing the door to secure a den to watch a film in peace. When we arrange furniture, decide where to sit on a bus, or set out a picnic blanket, she says, we establish a boundary and a point of focus. Now that so many of us are working from home, attending school from home, or staying home in our retirement to ensure our safety, there can be very few boundaries that separate one moment from the next, one day from the next. I've heard someone say, I'm not sure now if I work from home or live at work. Maybe carving out time and space using some of the concepts of Hygge could help us with that. Another challenge that we have these days, and I'll own up to this one myself, is that we are so connected virtually that we sometimes forget to carve out time and space away from our devices. A morning without getting on the computer, an entire evening without your cell phone in the room. Experiencing a sense of presence and belonging is challenging when we're stressed and distracted, Louisa says. Hygge isn't about a life without technology, but it asks us to balance our commitments and remember the value of human interaction, in-person conversation, and physical intimacy. It liberates us to fully inhabit the moment without feeling compelled to record it. So Hygge really is about presence. Now, if you feel like you must run out and buy a new set of furniture in order to experience Hygge, then I am not explaining it very well. An old worn blanket is probably the most Hygge thing of all. Over the years, I've adapted what Hygge means for me, Tanya Landon says, and what I can manage with 3 kids and a dog. What I've found is that Hygge is possible everywhere. The most crucial item to have for Hygge is candles, she says. Candles are so prevalent in Denmark that they even use them in kindergarten classrooms. The more candles, the better. The second thing that's important is to declutter your space. You don't need a house as spotless as my Danish neighbors, Tanya says, because really that's not possible for most of us. But having one space clutter-free makes such a difference when trying to experience true Hygge. Finally, she says, add some beauty. Flowers or greenery on the table, pine cones in a bowl, or evergreens on the windowsill. A little touch of the natural can make all the difference. We are coming up upon 1 year of social distancing and managing our lives through a pandemic. It has taken a toll on our spirits, on our families, on our economy, on our sense of safety and well-being. It has affected every aspect of our lives. Now that there are vaccines rolling out, there is a glimmer of hope for a return to something like our old lives. But we have been changed by this experience. We have all been reevaluating what is important in our lives. And we have another stretch of this time away from time to get through. We have this winter and spring of pandemic living to get through. I wonder if we can turn to some of the lessons of Hygge to make that time a little sweeter, a little gentler, to invite ourselves to be a little more present, a little more connected. We don't have to be Danish to do it. We just have to pay attention to what might mend our souls right now, to invite a little beauty in. There is a simple fidelity to the moment that we experience through Hygge, Louisa says. We notice how a mug of morning coffee stands steaming on the table, how our bedside lamp and an old volume of poetry beckon us to bed, how a familiar room slowly changes color as morning arrives. When we Hygge, we remove the clutter of perception and reach a singleness of purpose. By dimming the lights, putting the kettle on, or laying out a picnic blanket, we adjust our surroundings to guide our energy and desire. Hygge pays attention to the concerns of the human spirit, turning us toward a manner of living that prioritizes simple pleasure, friendship, and connection above consumption. There are so many aspects of this time that are painful and sad. Years from now, I hope we have healed many of the broken places in our society that have been highlighted by this crisis. I hope our hearts and souls have mended some. And I hope that some of the memories of this time feel like the time that all the lights went out, and we put some candles and some chocolate into a bag and went to see if the neighbor was okay. May it be so. Amen. And blessed be.